Hello students of standard 8, how are you all? Hope you are all fine and doing well, studying well, right? So we are learning from home and so we can provide enough time to learn everything. You are getting time in the morning as well as in the afternoon, right? So you have to learn the taught topics very well. So up to here in the first part we completed, right? So in the first part, what did you learn? We learned about grandson and grandpa, right? As we knew that, as we learned in the chapter, that grandpa is blind and grandson wants to see through grandpa's eyes. That how grandpa is so smart without seeing anything, and without seeing anything, how he images very sharply, right, with sharp mind, that he feels without seeing. He arranges his plate in a clock like, right, like a clock, as 12, 3, 6, 9 are arranged in a clock, right? That way he arranges his plate to come down from the staircase to go up to the staircase, right? Moving everywhere, feeling sun, feeling morning, feeling warmth of the sun. So everything grandpa feels, and that the grandson also wants to feel. And grandson looks through grandpa's eyes, the smell of flowers, smell of eatable things, that is a breakfast that is prepared by grandma. So everything he wants to see through grandpa's eyes. Even I taught you that also, that the musical tunes that grandpa knows very well, grandson also plays with grandpa, but he uses the sheet and stands to learn the notes, right? So that is the thing, that the people who are physically impaired, जो कि they are very attentive, they are more attentive than normal people, right? And also they are very alert about their surroundings, that we learned from this chapter, right? Okay, now we start from the next paragraph on page 87. Listen, I'll play a piece I learned when I was your age. What grandpa says? When I was at your age, I learned one something in music, a piece in music. So I want to play that. It was my favorite, right? Grandpa plays the tune while I listen. While grandpa played, I used to listen to my favorite music. That's the way he learns new pieces, by listening. Sometimes he was listening, and by listening, he used to learn the musical notes. Now says grandpa, let's do it together. Now grandpa says to grandson, let's play these notes, this tune together. Later, we walk outside through the front yard and across the field to the river. Right? Then they walked from there, from to the front yard, means in the front yard, before the house there is some place, and across the field to the river. Right? Field to, they also used to move over there near river, near the river. Grandpa has not been blind forever. He gently takes my elbow as we walk so that I can help show him the path. Right? So gently, grandpa takes his elbow, grandson's elbow, so that he can help to show him the way where they have to go. I feel a south wind, says grandpa. What grandpa feels? A south wind, that the wind comes from the south. How we could tell that? See this. I can tell which way the wind is blowing because I see the way the tops of the trees lean. Now, grandson told, what the grandson tells? That I can see the wind blowing, and I can see the tops of the trees, how they lean, at what side they lean, right? If they lean to particular side, the grandson can tell. that this is the south wind, this is the north wind, this is the east wind, whatever he can say. But grandpa was blind. Even then grandpa says that I feel a south wind, right? So grandpa tells by the feel of the meadow grasses and by the way his hair blows against his face, right? He feels the movement of meadow grasses. By that also he can guess, and he also feels the blowing of his hair, at which side the hair blows. Accordingly, he guesses about the uh, direction of the wind. When we come to the river bank, I see a blackbird with a red patch on its wing, sitting on a tree. The grandson sees a bird near the river bank. Right, that was a blackbird with a red patch. Without thinking, I point my finger. At this time, grandson forgets that his grandpa is blind, right? So, without looking at grandpa, he just points his finger at the blackbird and says, "What is that bird, grandpa?" I ask excitedly, because grandson is very small. So, he often forgets that grandpa is suffering from this, that he is unable to see, right? So, he asks, "What is that bird, grandpa?" Conquerry, the bird calls to us, right? The bird spoke the words, the bird spoke like this, conquerry, conquerry, and in that way, particular sound. A red winged blackbird, says grandpa. Looking, he is unable to look at that, but he heard the chirping of the bird, and he said that it is a red winged blackbird. Promptly means suddenly he says without delay that it is a red winged blackbird. He can't see my finger pointing. Naturally, he was blind, so he couldn't see the pointing finger of grandson, but he hears the song of the bird, right? Singing of the bird, chirping of the bird. By that, grandpa comes to know that what the bird is. Next page, students. Page number 88. Okay, right. Now, and somewhere behind the blackbird, he says, listening is a sparrow. Something is heard. I can listen something behind the blackbird. Some noise. That is a sparrow. I hear a scratchy song, and I look and look until I see the earth colored bird that grandpa knows is there. Right? After that, what happened? Grandson heard a scratchy song. Scratchy means rough and not pleasant to hear. Right? So he hears some earth colored bird. He sees some earth colored bird and listen to their scratchy song. Nana calls from the front porch of the house. So, as we walk back, Grandpa spots suddenly. He bends his head to one side listening. He points his finger upward. Now, grandma calling is calling them from the porch, right? And they went back from there, and suddenly grandpa stops and he bends his head to listen something, because he is having some guessing of some birds. Honkers, he whispers, right? Joe scratchy song that is heard by grandson, and that scratchy song was sung by honkers, right? I look up and see a flock of geese. Right? Grandson looks up and sees the flock means group of geese. This is the plural of goose. Right? High in the clouds, flying in a V. Sometimes we see the bird flying in the sky in a V shape. Often we look at the sky and see so many birds like that, flying like this. No? So these geese were flying in a shape V, and grandpa recognized the voice, and he say they are honkers. We walk back to the house where Nana is painting chairs. Grandpa smells the paint. Now grandma is painting chairs and grandpa smells the paint. What color, Nana? He asks. I cannot smell the color. He asked to grandma, what color you are painting? Because it is a funny thing, that he says that I can smell paint, but I cannot smell color. I can't smell color and say it is white, it is black, it is green, it is red, right? So here it is, he makes fun that I can smell paint, but I cannot say the color. Blue like the sky, I tell him smiling, right? Grandson says that this is a sky blue color. Blue like the color of grandpa's eyes, Nana says. What grandma says? I paint blue color and this blue color is a sky blue color and that color is like grandpa's eyes. We drink tea. Now second thing, see, we drink tea on the porch. They sits in the porch and takes tea. Grandpa pours his own cup by putting his finger just inside the rim of the cup to tell him when it is full. Now grandpa pours his tea in the cup himself. And what he does? He keeps his finger at the rim. Rim mane kinara, right? Corner. At the corner of the cup, he keeps his finger and feels whether the cup is full or not. He never hurt, he never burns his finger, right? By doing this, it has not even happened single time that he burns his finger. He knows the cup is full and he takes his finger away. In the afternoon, Grandpa, Nana, and I take our books outside to read under the apple tree. They go to they go under the apple tree, taking books in their hands. So Grandpa, Grandma, and grandson, all three go to the apple tree under the apple tree to read the books. Grandpa reads his book with his fingers, right? Filling the raised braille dots and tell him the words, right? So this is the what is the braille? Braille is a script, right? Language for visually impaired. Those the people who cannot see, they read with the braille script. And who is the dear students, who is the creator of this braille script? That is Louis Braille. So he has created this script in English, French, Bharati, Japanese, Korean. So in different language, he has created this Braille script, and it is a language of raised dots, right? And tell him the word, and like this way, by touching it, he was reading the words. Like this way, Grandpa was reading. After supper, Grandpa turns on the television. Supper के बाद Grandpa television turn on करते हैं. I watch, but Grandpa listens. I watch the TV, but Grandpa is unable to see, so he listens. And the music and the words tell him when something is dangerous or funny, happy or sad. By listening to the music, maybe by listening by the dialogues and everything, right? So the notes of music going up and down, he understands that the scene is dangerous, funny, happy or sad. So this way he comes to know what kind of scene is going on. Somehow Grandpa knows when it is dark. He takes me upstairs and tucks me into bed, right? So what happens when Grandpa knows when it is dark? When it is dark, when it is night, when they have to go to sleep, he knows everything. And he takes me upstairs and tucks me, right? Grandson and Grandpa goes upstairs and Grandpa pushes him into bed, right? He bends down to kiss me. Grandpa kisses his grandson, his hands filling my head, right? So he keeps his hands on his head and what says, you need a haircut, John. Your hair has gone to be long, so you have to cut your hair, he says, filling his hair and moving his hand on his head. Before Grandpa leaves, he turns out the light. But by mistake, his turned it on instead. Instead of doing off lights off, he does the lights on. right? We switch on the lights instead of switch off the light. I lie for a moment after he is gone, right? So I let him go, and after that I stand up and then switch off the light, smiling. That means with a smile. Before I get up to turn off the light, I smile first and get up to turn off the light. Then when it's dark for me, the way it's dark for grandpa. Okay, now it is a dark, but it is always a dark for my grandpa. I hear the night noises that grandpa hears. Now closing my eyes, I also hear the noises around me. The house cracking. What kind of? Means closing of houses, the birds singing, and the last songs of the day, right? The bird who are singing last songs of the day, the wind rustling, means making small soft sound of wind. So soft sound of winds in the tree outside my window, right? Everything I can feel like grandpa closing my eyes. Then all of a sudden I hear the sounds of geese overhead. Sometimes at night the geese moves on the in the sky. So we listen sometimes the voice of geese. They fly low over the house. Uh, exactly over my house. They were flying and making particular kind of noise. Next page, students. 89. Grandpa, I called softly, hoping he's heard them too. I think Grandpa might have heard this. So I thought that Grandpa, perhaps his Grandpa is also listening to this noise. Honkers, he calls back, right? So listening to the bird's voice, he came back and told that there were honkers. Go to sleep, John says. John says Nana. Now Grandma says that go and sleep. Grandpa says her voice smiles to him. I test it. Right? So Grandpa also smiles and smiles at the comment of Nana to go to sleep. I test this. So I also uh, tasted. Grandma was also smiling. But I called to her. Right? Grandson told to Nana, what? I said go to sleep. She answers. Once again she answers that I have to go to sleep. She says it sternly. Sternly, that means I can say strictly she says this. But grandpa is right. Her voice smiles to me. Right? So keeping my eyes closed, I can say that grandma was telling sternly, but she was smiling. I know because I am looking through grandpa's eyes. So I can see through my closed eyes that grandma was smiling, and that I could feel through my grandpa's eyes. Right, students? So in this way, how grandson feels the imaginings and the feelings of grandpa without seeing, closing his eyes. So everything the grandson also feels closing his eyes, and the smiling of grandma, everything, whatever, music and everything, touch or smoothness of railing, everything he feels with grandpa's eyes. So like this way, I complete this chapter, and after that we will have the discussion of all kinds of question answers. So next video will be of discussing of question answers. Okay, thank you. Bye bye.